Hello everyone. It's been a while since I did a crystal channeling, and so today I felt really called to do a channeling from this Lemurian Seed crystal that has been in my keeping for a long time. And Lemurian Seed crystals certainly captivate the imagination. For those of you who aren't familiar with them, just a really quick rundown, and I'm going to activate and open this Lemurian Seed while I'm doing this, so this can be sort of channeled through the crystal and through their consciousness rather than me just relaying facts. And for those of you who are interested in this, I do teach how to do this and so much more in my Lightwalker program that's open right now. But tuning into to this Lemurian Seed. So Lemurian Seed crystals are quartz crystals that were seeded in this planet in ancient times. They were a star people that came to this planet, that incarnated on this planet. They were the first great ancient civilization. They were agrarian beings. They were beings who lived in harmony with the earth. They were a matriarchal society in that they worked and channeled with and through the divine feminine very powerfully in terms of the life principle, the birth and death principles, the cycles of nature and living in balance. Their power, a lot of the power that they worked and the way that they worked with their energy was very magnetic. Worked very much through magnetism and through the magnetic charge of their fields, their energy fields. And the crystals that were seeded here also came, were brought with them from another place in time, in the universe, in the cosmic universe, and were seeded and planted here. They were some of the original crystals. While there were original earth-based crystals, these were also seeded in the planet, which basically means planted. And when you journey down into the crystalline matrix of this earth and connect with the ancient crystals that are still seated here, that are deep down in the center of the earth, they contain cosmic wisdom. They connect with universal wisdom and consciousness in a way that they refer to kind of like the God principle, because that's a prevalent belief on the earth that there is this higher divine creative being or level of consciousness that has created all, and they connect very directly to that energy and to that level of consciousness and help to ground a certain measure of that wisdom and that light on the planet. They also fused with the energetics of this planet. As I said, you can connect to them through the crystalline matrix, which is something that I teach people how to do. And the crystalline matrix is very much in the earth, is very much part of the life principle, is very much a part of what energizes things and helps things to grow, helps things to be full of vitality. And for those of you who walk the stone path and work with crystals and stones, if you just close your eyes and tune into what's coming through, you may find that a lot of this is very resonant. It really kind of makes sense in many ways. It's also kind of like interplanetary communication through this matrix. And of course, all life, all things that occur on this planet are recorded in this crystalline matrix. So in some ways, there's similarities to our ideas of the Akashic records, this other realm of consciousness and light, and how it is a recorder. So is this matrix, this crystalline matrix that's on the earth, and we can work with that to deliver planetary healing, to do work on the collective and collective consciousness, to connect with that birth principle. Needless to say, it's also a really, really fabulously powerful channel, electromagnetic channel that also amplifies manifestation and also brings us into levels of power and truth from which we may feel disconnected. And certainly for those of you who, tend to flip in and out of dimension, and maybe are natural mediums, natural channels, have trouble grounding in the earth frequency and planet, grounding down, connecting down into this crystalline matrix in the earth instead will help to steady your own energy and frequency on this planet, so that you no longer feel thrown off by its density, thrown off by geopathic stress. Okay, this is essentially a workaround, because again, for people who work very, very deeply with energy, with consciousness, you come to realize very quickly grounding really kind of isn't possible, because there is no ground. Again, when we go right down into that subatomic level, everything is just swirls of photons and light. Everything is encoded in light. So this planet that we walk on, that feels very solid and stable Earth, is actually a bunch of light codes. And for those of you who are curious about more about this, about light codes, about connecting to crystals through light codes, I have a free class that you can watch. It's in my link tree here on Instagram or on YouTube. I can drop the link in the description. But I have a free class introducing people to channeling through crystals, channeling through satin spar selenite, where I talk about this in a little greater detail so that you understand. But everything being encoded in light, and with crystals refracting, emitting, channeling, and absorbing light. And this is one of the ways that the Lemurians, this is the way primarily that they encoded teachings, philosophies, consciousness in these crystals. And the striations, the markings, are ways for us to identify these stones, and also to be able to connect with and open up some of this information. It's really key to understand that because these crystals are, thousands of years old, and because they were held and worked with and created by an ancient and enlightened people, it can take time for you to open up to the information. It can take time for you to download it, because it all depends on where you are on your path and what frequency you're vibrating at, what level of resonance and field of resonance you're moving in and existing in, that allows you then to tap into this information. It's kind of like, when you're in a grade 1, you're not going to be able to understand, the applied physics that you're going to learn, in your high school years. You're still where you are in your own evolutionary and growth process. So this is really important to understand about Lemurian seeds, Lemurian seed energy and consciousness. But one of the reasons why this is coming through so powerfully now, and many people, even people who don't necessarily work with stones and walk through the stone, walk the stone path, may also feeling called to this energy, is because of its healing nature, its magnanimous nature, its very collective based, community based. It was very healing and nurturing to this planet. This is why they were called here. And we need this consciousness now. We need this wisdom now to help guide us through and heal. Because the thing is, when you're working with light, and especially when you're working through the stones, and you learn how to work through the light codes, and you learn how to start transforming your own self, your own reality, your own life, right down to your DNA, because there is plasticity in the DNA. There are light photons in the DNA that respond to belief, that respond to emotion, that respond to our thoughts, just like the rest of our constructed reality. When you're able to do that and start initiating transformation for yourself on an individual level, you're also then capable to join with others and start initiating change through a planetary level. And this is part of what we need to bring in a more very real way. It's not just about carbon trapping carbon down in the earth and eating vegetarian or whatever it might be, these physical changes. There are levels right down to our consciousness. It's only when the consciousness that created the harm, that created the destruction, that created the cruelty, that created the wounding and sadness in your life, it's only when that consciousness changes, that everything else can change. And this even comes back to some of the hermetic principles in so above, so below, so below, so above. The change must first happen in consciousness. It must first be patterned in light to therefore take hold and affect the blueprint of reality, the blueprint of your reality, the blueprint of who you are, of your health on every level, but then also the planet. And this, of course, is part of the calling of the Light Walker program that I'm teaching right now, and the different levels, each walking through these shifts in consciousness, working with the stones to tap into these light codes, first to be able to connect with higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of spirit, to then start affecting transformation in your life, and then to start affecting transformation on a planetary level. And so that's the information, that's the message that came through today from the Lemurian Seed crystal. Something definitely to start exploring more deeply. And so, go back and listen to that channeling again, close your eyes, tune into the frequencies, see what starts to resonate for you, because the more that you tune into some of those messages, and the more you start working with your stones, any kind of stone, on a level where you're seeking to connect with light energy, you're seeking to connect with the spirit and consciousness of the stone. This is where you start to evolve, and this is where you start to evolve your relationships to them, to your body, to your feelings, to your systems of belief, and then also consequently your reality. So if you'd like to learn more about that, or take my free course, as I said, the links are in my link tree, or I'll drop them in the description. I guess that's it. I'm kind of running out of juice now, so I'm going to wrap up. But thank you for listening to that. I hope that in some ways that was of service or activating for you. And I look forward to coming back here again more in the future and doing more crystal channelings. So thank you, bless you, and have a wonderful day.